Thank you so much for being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips and how I mix the skin tone for this portrait of a girl with flowers. Starting off with the outline, the underdrawing, then the rich colour stroke detail stage. Be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Just starting off, putting a center point on my board there, and there'll be a center point on the reference image. Just going to run through this outline quite quickly. So it's freehand then, so I'm doing sort of loose marks to start with, within the pencil quite a distance from the point, create loose marks. From that center point I'm using imaginary angles to get the position of these shapes. So we're using the pencil on a vertical plane and also on the horizontal plane to find the location of one point against the other, and just play with it really, just have fun with it and just keep relaxed and just see it as one shape against the other rather than seeing it as mouth, nose and hands, and it keeps you calm that way rather than getting overwhelmed by all the details. Once you're happy with the loose marks, it's a case then of just firming things up really and then adjusting accordingly. What I tend to do as well is keep that reference image small enough so I can actually see the whole image, so I get a feeling for the energy of the portrait, and it keeps it easier then to see the proportions, because if it's too blown up it can get distorted, the shapes. So that's a tip for you, just keep your reference image small enough so you can see the whole thing, and then just open your heart, so bring that reference image into you and then draw it from there and just let it flow. And if it feels wrong, it needs attention, that's what I'll go by, how it feels, and then keep adjusting it. Before I start the underdrawing, I'll just ghost the outline using a Faber-Castell kneadable eraser. Now, light areas of the skin tone, be using these colours, and for the dark areas, these colours here. Now this stage is all about getting the shapes right, so what I'm doing is correcting the outline because we've done freehand, but I'm just putting a little bit of form in there, putting light colours in, very light pressure on the pastel mat there, hardly any pigments going on there, it's just so I could easily move it around. Now I'm using the red and the yellow ochre together, and then using green and blue to desaturate it. So if it's a warmer area I'm using the green, if it's cooler area I'm using the blue, and then just having fun with it. I love this stage because you can just be really loose and then just play about with the colours a little bit, but I'm not interested in getting the value right or the temperature or the colour. It's all about getting the shapes in place. I tend to work on several areas, I just let me instincts take me where I need to go, so I'm just getting this in here first now before I start doing any more, just so I can get the position of the dress and a bit of the flowers, and just makes it easier then when I'm starting to put the skin tone in. So how I'm mixing here is just putting the white in first, then glaze over with the red, two different reds there, cold and warm red, then yellow ochre, and then desaturate them with the green. Now for the darker areas here I'm using cold red and dark green with a bit of brown. I love this stage because it's really nice and loose, so you can play about with colours. You can get a bit of an idea of what needs to be done, but I'm not trying to get an accurate colour, temperature or value or chroma. That'll be later on in this video. Just putting a very light colour over the white, so you're creating that texture, and all this texture, layer after layer after layer, makes up the skin tone, you see. So it's just a case of just keep persevering. But it's starting to shape up now, it's just getting that little bit of form, and I'm getting a feeling for the portrait. Just adding a couple of colours here, burnt sienna and lemon yellow, which will be great for the hair here, just to create that zinginess. And then just reshaping everything just so I can locate the side of the face there correct on the skin tone. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just doing the eyes here with the eyelashes. Now there's not that much detail in the reference image in this area, so I always say just paint what you see. So just create the shades and the colours and the shapes as you see them, and it just sort of automatically starts to look like what you're trying to achieve. Another reason why I like to do an underdrawing is that it creates a vehicle for the next stage, which is the rich colour stroke detail stage. So this chalky layer here allows it to be more of a smoother application then when I start putting the rich colours on, and it all adds to it as well. All these colours create the texture I'm looking for the skin of the overall look. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my Patreons for their wonderful support every month. Can't thank you enough, it means the world to me. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below for more details. It's only a small amount each month, but you get access to every video on my Patreon in that tier. So please check it out after you've seen the video if you're interested. Now for the rich colour stage, here's some Caran d'Ache pencils I'll be using. And then the selection I used earlier. Now for the lips, I'm using a Caran d'Ache pencil. It's actually called Purplish Red, and that just creates that sort of nice feel to it. With it being in a shade, you see, it's got like a bluish tinge to it, a bit cooler, so that sort of worked pretty well. Then for the shadows here, I'm using dark green and red to give a deep shadow rather than using brown. It creates more of a sort of natural shadow. Now I'm using the yellow ochre of the Caran d'Ache because it's got more pigment, it's more sort of vibrant. It seems richer when you apply it, and I'm just working it in now, very small circles, trying to create that sort of texture of the skin. Then I'm using the pink white of the Caran d'Ache range, then just going over with blue then and yellow ochre, creating different sort of subtle greens, bluish greens and warmer greens. More warm if you've got more yellow ochre with it, less with blue. So it's just changing it up here and there and just feeling your way, but I'm building it up slowly but surely. So the rich colour stage is still like a blocking stage. The final details will be later on as we go along, but just getting a sort of feel for the colours first, and then once I'm happy with the shade of it, then I start putting that subtle detail in. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Now this area's got more chroma because the light is shining from her right hand side, so it's just catching the side of her face there. So I've put that sort of flesh tint of the Caran d'Ache in there, then the warm red, and then just keep going over until I've got the right sort of shade. This stage I realised that I needed to get the depth of shadow in that part of the hair, so it'll give me more of an idea then of the chroma and tone and temperature of the flesh tint. So I needed to get the darkest area of this hair in. So highlighting with that flesh tint, which is ideal, all it is really is yellow ochre and white and a bit of red mix, but then I'm using burnt sienna, a bit of cold red, lemon yellow and a dark brown as well. I'm putting that in. So it's a combination of all these different colours just to get that depth of that ginger hair. Just adding that warm red, which is vermilion red, and yellow ochre of the Caran d'Ache range on that edge there, because it is a little bit warmer. So chroma means how it glows, so it's glowing more on that edge, so that's why I'm adding those rich colours in. It's all about experimenting really and just seeing what works. So I'm putting that warm red in there first from the Caran d'Ache, then yellow ochre, and then going over that then with the pink white to create texture. So small circles, little dashes, and then just trying to get that sort of feeling of the skin, and then putting over there then, which is the blue, which is going to create a cooler red. So you put in the warm red, then add in the blue, which creates a cooler red. There's all sorts of colours in this skin tone when it's in the shade like this outside. Fascinating to do. It's almost like marble. There's that many different colours. I really love doing this sort of type of skin tone. If you want to know more about how I use complementary colours to create shadows in skin tone, I have got a free class for you. You're welcome to it. The link is in the description below this video. This method of creating shadows applies to anything really, animals, landscapes, seascapes. I use a similar sort of thing using the complementary colours to create subtle shadows, so please check that out after you've watched the video if you're interested in having that free class. Now what I'm doing here is actually I'm squinting my eyes to see the values, and then I'm opening my eyes wide to see the subtle variations in colours. So that's a little tip for you. Open your eyes to see the colour, squint your eyes to see the values. It makes all the difference, and it's just getting that overall balance. So really what I'm doing as well is looking in the mirror a lot, seeing it from a different angle. So I'm standing with the mirror behind me, the back towards the portrait, and then I can see in the reflection the painting and the actual reference image, and then I'm comparing the difference, and it's surprising what it brings out that needs to be done, because you get used to seeing it from one particular position. So if you flip it over, it brings out loads of issues that needs to be corrected. It's always a challenge when you're doing skin tone in shade, because there's no direct sunlight on it, so there's no sort of big contrast between light and shade. But it's so fascinating to actually draw, because there's so much subtleties, you know, with the cool and warm, and just adding that blue, yellow ochre and the green and the reds together, it just does the trick. Just keeping things nice and simple. It's just changing the sort of mixture as you go along. So as it feels cooler, just add a bit more blue. If it feels a bit warmer, just add a bit more yellow ochre, and it just sort of comes together in the end. Now sometimes you have to put lighter colours down first. So you can see here I'm putting, it's far too white, but I have to put that down first, so when I glaze over the top of it, it becomes the correct shade, and that light shines through. Then it creates a sparkle to the skin tone, and that's how I achieve these skin tones, is adding that light first and putting layer after layer after layer on the top, and keep adding that white, and then keep putting the layers on, and eventually it starts to sort of feel like skin. Now I'm using a cotton bud here, very very lightly does it though, don't scrape it, just sort of very lightly, sort of small circles, and slowly going over the top of it, just to smooth it out a little bit and to cover that grain of the pastel mat. But you don't want to make your skin tone too smooth, because it'll look like plastic then, so you've got to have this sort of texture into it, but it just using that cotton bud just reduces a little bit. Now here I'm just putting a little bit of hair in here just to give a suggestion of it, just to get the feel right of the portrait, but all that will be put right in the next video. Now as you can see here, it's slightly a bit too red here, so what I'm going to do now is add more of the yellows and greens and create that sort of more sort of subtle feel to it. Now I've got that sort of rich colours in there. Now these are the details that I'm putting in, just readjusting things, making it cooler in some places, warmer in other places. It makes all the difference, and then just changing it up. You just got to keep persevering. That's the key thing, is to keep persevering, keep changing it up. Layer after layer it starts to shape up, then the colours start to come together. Putting more green in here, see, to create that sort of greeny yellowy colour to it, and also adding blue in places as well, just create that purpley look. So it's just getting a balance, but you can see overall now it's starting to shape up. I'm changing things up more. Now this is a great tool to have in your kit. It's a colour shaper, but I suggest just dabbing with that and just moving pigment around like a paintbrush, but don't scrape it, also just take too much pigment off. But sometimes I use that in areas, but using the Carbothello white, because it's titanium white, is really great for tinting, so that's what I'm using here. But sometimes you have to put a bit lighter, so you can see it's a bit lighter here, but then when you glaze over the top it becomes the correct colour. So you have to get used to doing that. It's very hard to get the exact colour straight away, so you have to either go darker and add lighter colours on top, or lighter and add darker colours on top, so it's one way or other. Again, using the red and the olive green together to desaturate each other, so it creates like a grey, so either a reddish grey colour. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end, really appreciate it. Really interesting one to do, because this portrait is in shadow, but there's a lot of reflected light, so there's purples, blues, yellows. Fascinating to do. If there's any questions at all, please leave a message in the comment section below this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. In the meantime, if you want to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care, bye.